So, hi. I've never filmed a video like this, so I'm not really sure how it's gonna go, but this is supposed to be a question and answer video, and some of the most common questions that I've ever gotten, I've just written them down on my phone. Now that I've completed the 50-state tour and been to all 50 states in America, I thought it was a good time to start answering some of these questions. Question number one for the YouTube audience is, who are you? What are you doing? Why are you on my computer? All that sort of stuff. My name is Jake Blue. I'm an adventurer. Thing called the Adventure List, where I write emails to people daily from where I am, what I'm doing, who I'm with, while living a life on the road, traveling across the country. Now, as of today, I've been to all 50 states in America over the past 23 months, living in my car, traveling all around. Right now, like you can see, I'm in this beautiful little church pond sort of place in Lancaster. This is Amish country in Pennsylvania, and I've never really been around Amish people before. It's really fun. I'm staying in this beautiful hotel behind me because I deserve it after being on the road for 23 months and I had to take a shower. So that's first answer. Lost my words there. The first answer is, my name is Jake Blue. I'm an adventurer. You can click the link in the bio if you want to learn more about me and some like the emails. It's free to subscribe. I create little adventure booklets, all that sort of stuff. So click the link in the bio for those. Second question here. Second question, where do you live? In my car. I live in a Volkswagen Golf 2015. I'll throw up a little bit of footage right here, a little bit of overlay for you so you can see what I'm talking about. But it's treated me really, really well. Really, really, really well. Third question, kind of really good question actually. Why do you live in your car? Why do you travel across the country like this? Really good question. This is actually a deep question, so I'll start by just saying a little bit about why I started personally. In 2021, I came to the end of my rents in like July. I think it was July, June or July, and I moved out of my apartment with the intention to go live in another apartment in Oregon. After like 2 weeks on the road, I just wanted to travel a little bit. I was living in Bozeman, Montana, went out on the road, got to Oregon, got to Bend, Oregon, found an awesome bakery there, by the way, the Sparrow Bakery, probably the best bakery in the country. Highly recommend the roulades, so good, so good. But I got to Oregon and I was like, man, this is kind of fun. Maybe I'll just keep going. So I went all around the country that year. I went all the way up to Maine. I wanted to do all four corners of the country. That was my goal, 2021 and 2022. So, end of 2021, I get down to the coast of Florida is where I was. It was one of the most brutally lonely places. I'll talk a little bit more a little later in this video. But I came all the way up the Pacific Coast Highway, did that, and was still addicted. So the more I do it, the more I just want to see new places. Another reason why is because of finances. So I'll talk a little bit about this right now because I don't think it's talked about enough for van life sort of people. I'm very open with it. I'm very open with it. So when my dad bought his first house, I think it was like 1970 something, late 1970s, in San Bernardino, California, it was about $64,000 for a whole house. Today, that same house is worth probably $250,000 to $350,000. A lot of that has happened all across the country. To be a young person in today's society, where prices are so extreme and youth work is not like restaurant jobs, all that sort of stuff, you're not making $350,000 in high school from working a waiter job. It's just not happening. I used to work on the docks. I was a dishwasher, all that sort of stuff. I saved up maybe like $5,000. I hated every second of it too. It was the worst thing. I had $5,500 that I spent on getting my first book published. Yeah, it was freaking horrible, man. I hated it, and I didn't make any money to make like a real lasting impact. College is way more expensive. My parents had to put me through like 3.5 years of college before I dropped out. Another story there. So finances as a young person today are a lot different than they were back in the 70s, maybe 80s, all the way up to like 2000, where you could buy a house coming out of high school and go live on your own. Today, it's just not an option for a lot of young people, which is why I'm very into sort of the entrepreneurship route and trying to make more money than is available to most young people today by creating outsized value in the marketplace. So why do I live in the car? First is because it's really fun and I've really grown to enjoy it a lot. I'm going to buy a van and probably stay on the road for a long period of time. Second is that I couldn't buy a house coming out of high school, and I still can't afford a house right now today. So I could live with my parents, or I could go try to create my own path in the world, and I much prefer to go create my own path in the world, make my own money. So that's why. Question number 4, this is probably the most common question I get asked. I didn't put these questions in any particular order, but this is probably the most common question I get asked when I tell people that I travel across the country. You've been to all 50 states now, Jake. What's your favorite place? What a hard question that is, man. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite food? Like all that sort of stuff is really, really hard to answer because it changes depending on the day. I go to a Carrie Underwood concert, and at that moment, Carrie Underwood is my favorite artist. I go to a Zac Brown concert, that moment, Zac Brown is my favorite artist. So it changes depending on where I am, what I'm doing, how I'm feeling that day. But what I will say is that I travel to places for the wilderness experiences. Like right now, this is really nice to be kind of this manicured landscape in Pennsylvania, but I'm going up to Vermont because it's wild. I'm going up to upstate New York because it's wild. There's bears, there's deer, there's a wilderness. Like there's this place called the White Mountains in New Hampshire that, like, if fairies live anywhere, it's the White Mountains in New Hampshire. It's that wild. It's just like, whoa, what is all this? So I travel to places because of the wild. That being said, my favorite wild places that I've been so far, I love Montana. I adore Montana. Little bumpy patches so far. Colton, right? That's your name? Yeah. Colton's taking good care of me. LJ's acting up just a tad. So we're hoping I don't get tossed at some point. But if we do, hopefully I get it on camera. It'll be good footage. Check it out, man. Look how beautiful it is. Magnificent. Come on, big guy. You got it. Aww, that is so pretty. I grew up in Idaho, and I really, really like Idaho. I still think Idaho is one of the best states in the country. Hey, let's go, Eric! Oh my gosh, you legend!
Some water.
Eric, look at you staying in.
Wim Hof, baby.
Vermont is hugely underrated. I ended up driving out to Vermont today. My favorite state that I've probably been to. Hands down favorite state I've been to on the East Coast so far. Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, those states all rival this. But on the eastern side of the United States, Vermont's king. Look at that. The Stone Tower. Oh my gosh, we made it. Let's go. Oh. Check it out, man. And dude, you can't be a wilderness lover without going to Alaska. Like if you love Alaska, or if you love wilderness, then you have to go to Alaska to experience it. I went up there and I fished the salmon run. I could throw some more overlay footage for you here. Man, this video might take a while to edit now. I'm like giving myself chores to do as I'm answering questions. Got another one. This looks like a silver. Oh gosh!
Oh hey!
Here, can you see it? Here, let's look at it with the camera. Oh, that's a trout again. Gosh, is that beautiful or what? Oh, guys, this is so cool. Nice. Thank you. Will you keep it? Look at this salmon we just got. bringing it. This is such a beautiful animal, and we just killed it. I still haven't got the hook out, so I almost feel kind of bad, but I'm so grateful. This is part of a tradition. Kill these salmon. People have been doing it for thousands of years. Oh, we are so fortunate to be able to take part in it. So magnificent. But I went up there and I caught a salmon, and one of the most spiritual, wonderful experiences ever. I cried. I killed this salmon out of the river and ate it that night. And I don't ever have to do it again because I'm not really a big killer to start with, but it's really cool to become part of the food cycle. And that's something that really only exists in Alaska and America right now, because like life is so easy today for most people. We're living in the best time ever. So if you go to Alaska though, you can actually harvest from the land a little bit more. You're actually forced to in some areas because it is the world's, the country's last frontier. So that's one of my favorite places I've been so far. The Red Rock Desert of Utah is awesome. There's some Arizona places that are freaking fantastic. The Great Lakes of like Michigan, upper peninsula of Michigan, that's the right word. Like Marquette, Michigan is freaking epic. Haven't been to northern Minnesota yet, but I've also heard that's pretty freaking epic. Yeah, man, I go to the wild places. I would say top 3 states in the country for me are Montana, Idaho, Vermont. All right, so these are a few more lifestyle questions. Question number 5, where do you go to the bathroom? I stop at gas stations. It's not as hard as you would think. If I was a girl, I would probably have a lot more trouble with it because I can just pull off on the side of the road and go pee whenever I want to. Girls would have a harder time with that. So that's one thing that's just a bonus for me. I just have to pull off to a gas station. Like right now I'm at a hotel for 2 days this month. I usually get a hotel room for a night or 2 every month just to shower, because I don't shower very much. And then I edit my YouTube videos and post these online, so I have a consistent source of Wi-Fi. Number 6, what do you eat? That's a hard thing, mostly dry foods, right? Because I'd like to be able to cook, but I don't have an oven in my car. I don't have a stove in my car. And when I get a van, I eventually want like an induction stove top, so I can cook like some egg scrambles, things like that in the morning. But I'm not complicated. I eat peanut butter, blueberries. I eat like jerky sticks, things like that when I go out. I go out to a restaurant to eat about once a day. Just like get a little sandwich in the morning, something like that. Where do I shower? Like once a month. That's question number 7. Where do you shower? Sometimes I'll go stay with friends, things like that, but usually I'll shower in a river a couple times a month, and then I'll actually take a real shower about once a month. I could get a gym membership if I really wanted, but I just don't like having subscription payments, even though I could afford it. It's a funny thing when you start making like some sort of money. What you'll spend money on and what you won't is very interesting, because I could totally afford a gym membership right now, but I just don't want to. I've found a way to do it without it. Number 8, what do I do on a typical day? Typical day. I work in the morning. I work a lot. So I guess that leads into the next question. So we'll kind of tie these together. What do I do for work, and what do I do in a typical day? So what do I do for work? We'll answer that one first. I am a copywriter, if you're familiar with that word. So copywriter is somebody that writes marketing promotions for bigger companies, do stuff like that. So right now I work with a lot of functional wellness and fitness brands. I have 2 clients consistently, another supplement company that I occasionally do contract work for, plus projects I pick up along the way. But I just write things that sell stuff online. It's kind of had a shady, it's a long story. I don't want to get too much into my career's past, but I got into it back in college. It used to have like a shady name because you would be able to get away with some really bad stuff before there were ad policies and different censorship online. You used to be able to get away with scamming a lot of people. I'm really serious about being ethical with my work, so I write stuff that sells products that I'm really passionate about, like helping people get in shape, helping people get the 6-pack, bro. So I've had a lot of fun with that, and I've made a significant amount of money with it as well. So, and what do I do in a typical day? What I do in a typical day is I wake up and I find a coffee shop to work at daily, Wi-Fi place, public library, sometimes like a casino. I'll go in and I'll find free Wi-Fi at a casino, and I'll do some work. And I would typically work for about between like 2 and 4 hours a day. I'll write, and then I go and hike, and then sometimes if I'm working a lot, I'll go do a second work session on my hotspot in the afternoon out of the back of my car office. Also, one of the reasons I really want a van, so I can I actually work at a desk inside my van, which upgrade my lifestyle so much. And then finally, I'll go to bed that night, just find a good spot around 7 o'clock, find a place to pull off where I'm not getting woken up by the cops at night. Do you ever get lonely? Number 10. Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. We all do. So this is kind of a misconception. Solo travelers, a lot of people like that are always asked the question, don't you get lonely? Why are you traveling alone so much, right? Like, my family has personally asked me a lot of those questions, and the truth is, you get lonely wherever you are. Wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you're living in the nicest home ever, if you're living in a neighborhood. Great story, actually. When I lived in my Bozeman apartment, a little bit. When I lived in my Bozeman apartment, I was the loneliest maybe I'd ever been. I spent my entire year around other people. I had people that I said hi to every day. I had a girl at the front desk of my apartment complex I said hi to every day. I knew people's names, all that sort of stuff. I leave Bozeman, Montana, and I come back, text all the old people I had their number of that lived in my community. No one came out to lunch with me. I was offering to buy people lunch. There was only one person that replied, was that girl at the front desk, and she ghosted me on the lunch thing. That happened twice, where I came back and just tried to like reconnect with the old people I knew from that town. No one showed up. So I go out and live in my car for a year, right? I travel across 2021, 2022, now 2023. I have more friends than I've ever had in my life right now, more acquaintances. I'm actually going out to lunch with an acquaintance that somebody that I knew at an event. I met at an event, I got her number, and she texted me when she saw my Instagram story coming through Lancaster, Pennsylvania. She's like, oh my gosh, I live here, let's go get lunch, which is amazing. She's like on my email list, all that sort of stuff. And that stuff happens a lot more now that I'm away from a typical friendship making environment. So getting lonely, yeah, I get lonely on the road. Like down the end of 2021, I think, yeah, the end of 2021, I was on the coast of Florida and it rained for like a week straight. And I finished this huge trip. I'd made it all the way to all the places I'd never been to, driven across the country, and I'd never been more lonely in my life. Like, I was seriously depressed. So yeah, does it happen? Of course, man. It happens to all of us. But when I'm out here meeting people, finding new connections, doing all that, I feel much more at home, much less lonely on the road than when I was living in an apartment. Number 11 here, what does your family think of you? Kind of a lot of questions similar to that. Well, wow, it's kind of like an interesting topic right now. All right, so let's get into this a little bit. The interesting thing about going out and trying to accomplish something that's much different than what most people want to do, like right now I'm trying to grow a business that it can scale on the road, so I can lower my monthly expenses. I don't have to spend $1,600 on rent every month. I can invest that back into growing my business, growing my audience, making more YouTube videos, having a place that I can create, like get good content by being on the road all the time. Not as comfortable as being in an apartment, but I'm really serious about growing my business, right? So a lot of people think it's crazy. My brother has been someone that hasn't really understood a lot of it. My dad has been someone that hasn't understood a lot of it. My mom hasn't understood a lot of it. So it doesn't mean that I don't love my family, that I don't like being around them every once in a while, but like there needs to be space there during this developmental part of my life, because it's sometimes you got to put your head down and work, and sometimes things are more important than the relationships around you. At least temporarily. It doesn't mean you want to sacrifice those relationships, but there are other things that are more important. And when those relationships are taking you away from things that are important to you, then you need to have some distance in those relationships. So what does my family think of me? They all think I'm a little bit crazy right now. They all don't really understand why I have to keep moving, why I have to drive so much, why I have to be on the road. But it's really worth it for me right now. So even though there's been some animosity and some tension between me and my family being on the road, it's 100% worth it for me, because I'm going to be able to come back with a life that I'm happy and proud to be living. Even if it's hard sometimes right now, bro, so worth it, because I'm scaling a business, I'm creating impact that I want to see in the world. So that's going to be the thing that happens no matter what you want to do in life. Whenever you do something different than what you grew up with, people are gonna look at you like, really, dude, what are you doing? And I think the best thing you can do in that situation is get away from all those influences, because other people's beliefs infect your beliefs. And if you're alone a lot of the time, like I've been over the past 2 years on the road almost, then you get to choose to make your own beliefs, and you don't have other people that are always giving you their beliefs. So you find your own truth in the world and be able to create what you want to see for your life, because that's important, right? It's your life, it's not somebody else's. So go out and create what you want. Last question is kind of a two-parter. It's how long are you going to do this, and like what's next, kind of. Don't you want a home? What else you want to do? What else are you going to do? I don't know. I don't know how long I'm going to do this, but I do know I love living on the road. I've been to all 50 states, still have a lot of countries to go to. I'm going to Iceland this September. I'm going to be hosting group trips for the adventure crew. I think really going to start dialing that in come 2024 into this year. So you can click the link in my bio, and I host trips that go to different places. I want to go to Africa. I want to go see jaguars in South America, and I'm trying to do these trips as cheap as possible, probably in like the $1,000 to $3,000 range per person. So really excited about putting these trips together. But to answer the question of what's next and how long am I going to do this, I could see myself on the road for the next 10 years. I want to buy a van at the end of this year, start getting it built out, which is really kind of a more long-term transition rather than living in my car. So that's the plan right now, man. Stay here out on the road for probably at least another 5 years until I'm 30. Then maybe I could start thinking about getting property, things like that. There's a lot that goes into that, future goals, and it's for a different video. But probably a minimum of 5 more years I'll be out here on the road. I really love it. I really love it. So even if I had $50 million in the bank right now, I think I'd still be living on the road. I'd just get a van and continue traveling, because this is the coolest lifestyle ever. I really love it. And don't I want a home? Eventually, yeah, I think it'll be business investments for other people to stay in. I'll probably never really need a home that much for myself, but I'll have a roof at some point. But that's about it, man. So that does it, a Q&A session. I guess you can click the link in the bio, watch other videos that I've filmed. I just filmed the video finishing my 50-state tour across the United States. It's actually uploading in the hotel room right now as I'm filming this. Should be finished by the time I get back. So if you want to watch that, go to my profile, YouTube profile, watch that video, because I think it was a really special one to be able to finish and go to Delaware. And I also have free adventure booklets on my favorite places I've been in the country so far. I release a new free one every month, so just click the link in my bio, enter your first name and email, and I'll send it to you for free. And you'll be part of the adventure list and get the opportunity to join me on epic trips, get free stuff, get cool stories, all that sort of thing. So always a pleasure. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube video, for asking questions and giving me the opportunity to answer them, for asking questions and giving me the opportunity to answer them. So thank you so much. Stay wild, be free. I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to Vermont next, so it should be a good one.